Kendell Lenice, and welcome to Kendell Lenice Live. This is part 2 with my boy Leroy McKenzie Jr. We're talking about relationships. And if you're ready, are you bringing something to the table? Are you reciprocating in your relationships? Are you just wanting the woman to do everything? Are you just wanting the man to do everything? What is your role in that relationship? So we're talking about all of that and a little bit more. So in part 1, I talked about a poem that I wrote called Open Heart, Closed Legs. And reverse, closed heart, open legs. So what that means is, as I said in part 1, if you can swap spit, you can swap information. Meaning if you're willing to give the goods up, then you're able to have those kitchen table conversations, as I call it. So I did find the poem that I wrote, and I just want to read that to you. Now you can open your legs to anyone that comes by, like your legs have an automatic sensor for men with long money and long manhood, only to yell to the world, you're misunderstood. But you close your heart to a good man that can provide you more than the dollar bill, y'all. Scared to risk it all, you say, only to lay down with a man tomorrow who could give a damn about you because you gave it up before he even asked. The man didn't even know your middle name, but you rode him like it was your claim to fame. You said it's easier to open your legs than to open your heart, yet you'd never even tried. You are so worried about getting your heart broken, but somehow you're not worried about your broken spirit.
Wow.
That's Closed Heart, Open Legs. And I wrote that probably a decade ago.
Oh, wow.
Probably a decade ago. So you didn't know, I write this now. I just shared my poem. I don't share my poems.
You gotta share that on my because I have a poetry corner. It's called the Poets Corner. You gotta put it in the poetry page. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I have so much poetry, and I
Really? Oh, wow.
I have
cool.
tons. I have all of this is in a page. It used to be something called poetry. It was a poetry page, and I had a channel or a page within that. And of course, I didn't have my name there. I had an alias, and I wrote all of these poems. So they're uploaded there. So I just went right to that and got it. But I have so much poetry. I've been writing poetry since I was a little girl. And a lot of people don't know that about me. I'm dead serious.
This is the first time I'm hearing that because.
I can write a poem like this.
Really?
Yeah, I can write a poem, Roy, just like this. Like I can write a poem so quickly. I have books and books of poems. I have them all. Tons. I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah, because I write as well. So I'm just like, yeah, that's the first time I've heard you say that you wrote poetry.
Because I don't say it. I don't say it. And let me tell you something. I will go to a lot of the poetry slams and a lot of the different poetry readings, and I would always have a poem on hand and say, today is going to be the day. I'm going to get up there and perform it. Never, ever, ever have I. What people don't know about me is that I'm shy, believe it or not. I'm shy. And, poetry is personal.
Yeah, it really is.
But we have to talk.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you definitely have to share that on what'd you say? Like the Poets Corner, the Poets Lounge. I'm sorry, Poets Lounge. Page that I have because it's for poets, just for poets to be able to put your work up there. If you want to. If you have a video performing or whatever and stuff like that, because I love poetry. I've been writing poetry since I was in college, and so I just love it. I know we have a different mindset. We poets, we just have a different way of thinking and stuff like that. So I want to, and I'm thinking of doing a Zoom Facebook Live poetry. Like cafe poetry lounge. So I'm thinking about doing it, and I've had a couple people that have been like, yeah, you kind of need to do that. So So we might have to talk about doing that, because I think that'd be a dope thing to do on Facebook, because I've not seen anybody do anything like that. I've not
That
seen
would be
any poets.
super dope.
So yeah,
That right there, that would be super dope. And I would love to, you know what? I'm grown. I can do it. I think I can do it.
yeah. So yeah, so that's something that I'm seriously thinking about putting together, because I think it would be I just
Wow.
think it would be phenomenal. I think it would be
But
great.
I think that Leroy, that's a brilliant idea. And the thing about poetry and poems is it's a very vulnerable space
Yeah,
and place.
absolutely.
When
Absolutely.
you're writing a poem, it's very vulnerable, and it's almost like you can become a different person. You
Yeah.
can speak differently than you would. Like I can speak, like even in that poem, they're like, "Oh, she wrote that because
Hmm.
I said, I think damn in it."
Hmm.
And they don't hear me saying that,
Right.
on any of my social media outlets. But I
Right.
think with poems, it's a freedom
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you have with that pen. And I still, I type them, but I still like to write
Right.
poems.
Right.
And I also give poems as gifts sometimes.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
did it. I did it for my family some years ago, where I wrote everybody in my family, each of my immediate
See,
family, like my mom and my sisters,
see,
and even a couple of friends,
see,
and I wrote about what they meant to me.
see.
And I mean, it was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen,
Yeah,
just because it, like you said, it is a vulnerability, and with you expressing to someone how
yeah,
they make you feel, and how
yeah.
you the thankfulness that you have for them being in your life. So yeah. So
See,
yeah.
and also we're both writers and both creative
Yeah.
people, so that makes sense. But it's so funny, after all of these years, we've never
Yeah, we
talked
never
about
talked about that, and I've
that.
mentioned that, and maybe not on your platforms. I don't know if I have, because I have 3 books of poetry that I have out there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have three
So
books of poetry. Now I got more poetry that I need to put into a book, and everything again too, that I got to do. I need to get up on my volume 4, but yeah, but I have 3 that I've already put out there.
see, and in my first empowerment, because it's not my first book, my first empowerment book that I did, The Best Gift Ever, A Guide to Loving You is Learning How to Live Your Best Life, available on Amazon. But each chapter, I wrote the chapter and then I ended the chapter with a poem
Oh
that
wow! Oh, that's
tied
cool. That's
together
dope.
that
Hmm.
chapter. So I
Yeah,
did, self empowerment, and then I ended the chapter with a poem that closed that chapter. And I did
yeah,
that for each chapter. So that was my way of getting some poetry out there, but that was all fresh and new for that,
yeah.
for that.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So
All
cool.
right, Libra,
Absolutely.
we got to do the poetry thing.
Yeah,
I'm grown.
absolutely.
I'm grown. I
Yeah,
can do
definitely.
it.
So I'm gonna just. I think it's a matter of putting it out there once, so I can get how many poets want to sign up for it, but
Yeah,
then picking a date. Picking
yeah.
a date for it and everything like that. So yeah, so that'll be
And
cool.
I'll reveal my poetry name then, because people
Oh,
don't know. Nobody knows it. So the
okay.
poetry name that's on the site, like I've had, like I said, this site, and I'll talk about it offline because I don't want nobody to go run to
Right,
my
right
run to
there.
it right now. But it houses poets poems.
Okay,
And
okay,
that's where I just went right to it to find it, and it's still
okay,
there
cool.
after all of these years. And I have I just got so many poetry books and so much work. But even if I have to write a quick piece, like that
Hmm.
God-given gift, it comes right out. So that's definitely a gift, and it's something that I enjoy doing. And then I write songs too, so I'm able to put some of that poetic feel in the
Oh, okay,
songs as well. Yeah. All
cool,
right. So this
cool.
is something new. You
Yeah,
heard it first here, people. We both are
absolutely.
poets and didn't even know
You
it.
know it. All right, let's jump into this into
Yes.
this conversation about the and I don't even know I can't remember their names
Khadeen.
for some
It's
reason.
called it's Khadeen and Devale, and their podcast is called Deadass. And that's something that New Yorkers say when they're serious about something. So it's about like dead ass, like for real. Are you serious? Look at that. I've never cursed on camera and cursed twice a day. Do it. But
yeah,
that's what it's called. So
yeah, and I know that the guy, he's on the show Sisters. He's
yes,
from the show Sisters, for those that may not know.
yeah,
He's on the show Sisters, and they were both on
Black.
the yeah, Black Love. They were on Black Love is when I first saw them and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those
So
that
I'll
may
let
not
you
be
kick.
familiar with them.
So I'll let you kick it off. So we're talking about Devale and Khadeen, and Leroy sent me a video. He asked if I seen it, and I was like, "Yep, I seen it because I listened to their podcast."
Okay.
And my daughter last week or 2 weeks ago was like, "Your couple went viral," because she knows I listen to the podcast. And I said, "Well, what were they talking about? How she pressured him into getting married?" And I was like, "That's they always talk about that." But then when I watched it, it was a different spin and they broke it down a lot more. And now, Leroy, I'll allow you to tell the people what had happened after that.
well, a couple of things happened as they were watching, and you all can pull it up on YouTube. But they were having a conversation about their relationship, and Kendall, please jump in if I don't remember all of the details about it. But they asked the question. It had to do with being pressured about being married, but I thought it was something else along with that. They got into the conversation about being pressured in marriage,
Yeah.
and he said that he felt like he was pressured into to marry her.
Yeah.
And I believe she caught him off guard with that. Or he
And
caught
she,
her off. I'm sorry, he caught off. Yeah, he
yeah,
caught her off guard with
yeah,
it because she didn't feel as if she had pressured him into marriage. She kept
right.
saying that she was looking for a certain thing at that time in their life, because this is like 20 years. I think they've been married
Yeah.
for a minute and known each other for a minute.
Yeah.
So they've known each
College.
other for a long, yeah, since college. So
And he used
I
to
think
play
at
in
that
the
time. No, go ahead.
No, he used to play in the NFL as well.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, they were together since college, and
Mm.
they were dating. And he was talking about between 19 and 22, they were having sex all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something
Right.
that
That's what it was. Right.
and that's something that they were doing. And then she was basically saying she wasn't going to be a forever girlfriend. She
Right.
wanted to take the next step to get married. So, of course, he proposed. Um, they got married, but he said he felt pressure because it was almost an ultimatum saying, you know what, I'm not going to be sitting around here as your girlfriend. I'm going to need to be married. And if a man is not ready to be married and then they don't want to lose that woman, then they're going to marry that woman and be obligated. So he felt the pressure of that. And she couldn't understand what he was saying because as a woman, if you're asking for, she's like, I just was asking for what I want. And as women, you should ask for what you want, but then more of the conversation should have been had. But at that time, they didn't know how to have that type of conversation. So a long story short is he was saying that you weren't ready to be a wife, even though you asked to be a wife. You weren't ready to be a wife because you weren't willing to put in what you needed to put in to be a wife, as far as physical, as far as sexual. And he was saying, you asked me to be monogamous, which I am, and I love you and I'm that, but you didn't tell me, yes, I'm going to commit, I'm going to be monogamous to you, but then now since we get married, you don't want to have sex with me anymore. And then I'll let you go from there, Leroy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what he got into, where he was saying about men or relationships, that if you expected a man to be monogamous, and you want him to be monogamous, but you get married, and then the physical or sexual compatibility isn't there, being he wanted it more than she did, or if you have it vice versa, where she may want it more than he does. But he was talking from the mindset of him, and he was giving the example of him and saying his drive didn't go down, And he's like, now that we're married, and you still have that feeling of not wanting to have, have sex as much as I do, you should not have said I do if you weren't going to keep up that same expectation when we got
Yeah.
married, or expect me to be monogamous, because if I'm not going to get it from you, then what am I supposed to do?
Right.
And that was the conversation that they were having. And I was just like, man, this is a really deep conversation,
Yeah.
because that's part of that, what we were talking about. You ask for, you pray for it, but are those, and that's one of the aspects of a relationship. Are you compatible in that
Yeah.
way? Is that
But
it? You
people
gotta
don't, there's
No, go
no
ahead.
class on how to be a wife, how to be a
Nope.
husband, what the expectations are, how you should be, how do you get to that level. So I agree with you. That was a conversation that needed to be had. But then at a young age, when you get married, you don't even know that that's a thing. You don't even know that you don't need to have it. You don't know
Yeah.
that your sex drive will go up and down and some will stay the same. You don't know that there's going to be a disconnect or not, or you might grow out of this thing or want this thing. Like, you don't know. So so sometimes you don't even know to have that type of conversation.
Right, right, right. And absolutely, and especially when you're thinking, like he said, what, 1925,
Mm-hmm.
you're not thinking about having serious, well, at least a lot of folks aren't thinking about having those kind of serious relationships. And especially, honestly, when it comes to men, young men like that, they just, they're thinking about, whether it be a career, whether
Because
it
they're
be,
still young now. They're millennials. They're
yeah,
still
because
young.
they're in their what, mid 30, maybe early
Yeah.
to mid 30s, something like that. So, exactly, they're still really young in it, and they're just talking about from what they learned, some 10 years ago, 10, 15 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, about each other. And that's what relationships are about. Now, when it comes to that, but you do, and hopefully doing shows like this that you have going on, it will show those, are they still considered millennials that are in their 20s
Yeah.
right now, in the early
They
20s?
always, because that's their tagline.
Okay.
We're millennials, and yes, we're married, and we talk about relationships and everything. Real, like, that's their whole little
Yeah.
tagline. They're in their early 30s, like you
Yeah.
said, early to mid
So
30s.
hopefully those that are watching this, watching you and I, they will be able to say, wow, yeah, that is a conversation that I may need to have, or have to
Right.
understand about having, when it comes to when it comes to the relationships and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um, because if I have those relationships back then I'll have a clear understanding in the relationship as it goes along, where
Yeah.
there's no misconception about the physical aspect of our relationship.
Yeah.
Where, look, yeah, I got a certain expectation of this happening,
Yeah.
and I can have the choice, okay, to, like she said, I'm just trying to learn, I'm asking for what
Yeah.
I wanted. He's saying
Yeah.
the same thing. I'm asking
Yeah.
for what I wanted. I want you, and
Yeah.
I want to be with you, and that was his thing. I only want to be with you. I want it with you, but for some reason my drive is higher than yours.
Yeah.
And what do and what do you do in those circumstances? What do you
Yeah.
do when you have one person's drive is higher than the other? How
Yeah.
do dealing with that? Because
Yeah.
that can be something that a relationship kind of, can say ruin a
Yeah.
relationship, because you have somebody that's be like, well, shoot, she's not going to give it to me, I'm going to go and find it
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a great guy, and I think that he was like, no, it wasn't that I wanted to sleep with somebody
Yeah.
else. I wanted you.
Yeah,
I
but you know
wanted
how
you.
tough that was to probably, and they talk about, because they said that they talk about that, and I've heard them touch on that before, but I never heard them go all the way in. And like they said that even on that, like, they've never really exposed all of this, but it
Mhm.
sounds like it was a private conversation that they
Right,
often had. And I
right.
know on their podcast before, they'll talk about that or hint about, like, you don't never want to do it. And she's like, I'm tired. They'll talk about it like that. But I've never seen anyone that open to keep it all the way real like that when they're
Yeah,
talking about sex
because
in their,
that got real. That
yeah,
got real.
that
You
got
know.
real.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this: Do you think that she pressured him, into getting married? And do you think it was like he saw it, or do you think it was like she said, where she was just telling him what she wanted? This was
Yes.
what she wanted in a relationship. You know what I mean?
Now, normally, like my whole family says, I always take the man's side, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and because I'm able to see things both
Right.
on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually agree with her. I
Right.
can understand how he could see it that way,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I'm with her when she says, no, I just asked for what I wanted. And
Right.
in relationships on both sides, you have to ask for what you want. You can't assume that the other person automatically knows what you want. Unless you're clear and precise about you and your needs and what you want, you can't ever expect the other person to just get it. You have to actually have that conversation. So I think with her, it might have been historical as far as, the family. It might have been the pressure of her friends or possibly them getting married or taking the next step. Or if they were together 4 years and a couple that they know were together a year and they got married. So that social pressure of, hey, we need to be married. So, so I think it could have been some of that also. And I know she was with him during rough times and hard times and no money and, very little this. And when he got hurt from the NFL and he didn't have any money and, all of that. So I know that they've been through a lot within the relationship and they're open about that. But asking for what you want is not persuading someone else to give you that. It's just saying it. And it's about, that's the thing about communication, Leroy, is you can be saying the exact same thing, but two people can hear it totally different.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I agree with you. I don't think, to me personally, I didn't think that she was pressuring him. I think he took it as pressure. I think he thought that he was given an ultimate. She was telling him what her like we talked about before, what her expectations were. Here we are. To me it was like, okay, we playing house, but where? And I think she said it too. Where's this relationship going?
Right. And that's a fair question for a man
right.
and a woman to ask anybody.
Absolutely.
And I just want to tell the viewers, that's a fair question to ask if you're a man or a woman. Yep. Forget what anybody said, forget what you were told or what you thought. That's a fair question for men as well. Hey, where is this relationship going? It doesn't mean that you're pressuring the person to go further. Right. It says that you don't want to waste any more time. So if you say, I want this relationship outcome to be marriage, or I want to have children, or I want to be able to do this, then that's what you need to ask for. You can't assume that someone else wants the same thing you want. Right. And then with the man, the man might say, hey, listen, I want a wife. I'm not dating you just to be my girlfriend forever. I want to make it official. And I will say this about men. More men want commitment and want that wife than you probably think.
Yep, absolutely.
I would say that men want it sometimes more than women. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the misconception, that men don't want to be tied down. I hate that word, that whole phrase, tied down or in a commitment. They want that, but they want that with the right woman. So sometimes men are slower getting there because they want to make sure, where women may rush to do it. Or you might have the woman that says, you know what? The man says, this is what I want in the relationship. I want to be married. You might have the woman that says, you know what? That's not what I want. So why waste 2 years when you could have had that conversation up front?
Right. And that's the thing. We keep going back to that one word that we keep talking about, that communication and conversation with people, because there should not be any guessing when it comes to your relationship. You should have an understanding of where you all are, what you want. I mean, and that's one of the things of doing the work that you talk about. You ask yourself, what do you want in a relationship? Are you going into a relationship wanting to get married? No matter who it is, you're looking for somebody who can be a potential mate. Because that was always my thing. I'm not dating just to be dating. I'm dating for a purpose. I'm dating for a reason, because I want that person that I'm dating to be in the same mind frame. Hey, it may work out, it may not work out, but at least we know, hey,
Yeah.
that I'm heading in this direction, and
Yeah.
if we're not heading in that same direction, then we don't even need to talk.
Yeah.
We don't need to, there's no
Yeah.
need for you to waste my time, and there's no need for me to waste your time, because we're not thinking on the same level. So,
Exactly.
and there's nothing wrong if you don't want
No.
to, if you don't want to get married, that's fine.
No.
But you,
Because you can find another person that doesn't want to get married.
right, that's really all it is you find
Mm,
someone else that doesn't want that doesn't want marriage, and you that's where you have that. But if you have
yeah.
somebody that wants marriage and somebody that doesn't want marriage, no,
That's
you
not.
should not want to move any further in that relationship.
Yeah.
They can be the finest thing since whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it won't end well for you, because you're going to wind up wanting to
Yeah.
have that marriage, and they're not. They're like, look, I told you from Jump Street what it was.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and now you're 2 months in, a year in, and they're doing exactly what they told you they were doing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so you can't have that, the unreal, those unrealistic expectations, or
Yeah.
having the mindset, excuse me, of that you can change someone's mind. You know, oh, I can, I'm going to change their mind about getting married. I mean, no,
Yeah.
no, no. If they tell you that should be one of the conversations that you all have.
Yeah.
You know,
I
I,
agree.
whether it's the first date or the second date, it should be happening within a certain time frame of
I
what are your expectations of this relationship.
I
That
agree.
way you know. That way
I
you
agree.
know, and you can move forward whichever way you move forward from that point. That not many of us have those conversations and
Yeah.
everything like that. Even with the couple that we're talking about with them, that back then, like you said, that conversation wasn't had between them, because they had gotten to know each other. They were already in a
Yeah.
full-fledged relationship. They were sleeping
Right.
with each other, living with each other.
Right.
They did everything but
Right.
have the marriage license. They
Right.
were doing
Right.
everything, and that might have been her mindset at that time. Look, we're doing everything that married couples do. We already
Yeah.
got the life. We're living the
Yeah.
life of a married couple. So
Yeah.
why aren't we married? Or why aren't we married? Or when
Yeah.
are we going to get married? And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, he felt, some kind of way about it, at that time and everything like that. But I didn't see it as him being pressured. I just think that for whatever reason he felt like that at that time. But like you said, she was letting him know what she wanted out of the relationship,
Yeah.
where she was
Yeah.
expecting to go out of the relationship. Now, he might have. I don't know if he wasn't expecting to have to think about marriage for maybe some years, or whatever and stuff like that. Because you have people that may say, not right now. I'm
Yeah.
not ready yet. Maybe in a year, 2 years, or whatever. Because even those instances, because I read on my Facebook feed that it was saying, if you ask a woman to marry you and she says no, is the relationship over?
Mm. Mm.
And you got
Mm.
you got different responses, from it and everything like that. So it depends on where you are, you know.
And I that's and it's so important. You, as you see, Leroy and I can talk about this.
I know,
Leroy,
right?
I'm going to have Leroy back, and I want to talk about. We're going to do this again. We're going to arrange the time where we're going to do this again, Leroy and I. As you see, he has great insight to what men are thinking. And if you want to ask a man what they're thinking, if you want to know what they're thinking, ask a man. They'll tell you.
Yeah,
You know?
don't ask the sister girl, because
So
she can't
I,
tell you.
right, exactly. She can't tell you unless she's a man. She can't tell. She might think she knows.
Right.
I think I know a lot, but I can't tell you what's in the mind. I can tell you what I think is there, but I don't know because I'm not a man. So we're gonna have Leroy back, and we're gonna talk about dating as you get older. We're gonna talk about dating people with kids. We'll
Mhm.
talk about religion and dating. We're going to
Wow.
talk about a lot. So I'm going to have Leroy back, because Leroy and I would make this a 4-hour
I know,
show.
right?
But Leroy, I
For
thank
real.
you so much for always answering the call and having these kind of conversations, because that's how we close the gap and can
Yeah,
understand one
absolutely.
another with
Yep.
communication. So you going to come back?
Absolutely. I'm there. I'm all for having these conversations, because it it makes the individual, whether it's women or men, better, and then it makes the relationships that we have between men and women better. Because I'm tired of seeing us, and I'm talking about us,
Mhm.
talking at each other as opposed to talking to each other, so that we do close that gap, like you were saying.
Absolutely. Perfectly said and perfect way to end. And as you all know, if you listen to my channel or watch my channel, you know that it's all about changing the narrative for me and showing Black folks in a different way, in a different light, because we already know the noise that's going on over there about Black people. They ain't this, we ain't this. If you leave it to some people, Black people don't stay in relationships. Black people don't get married, because back in the day, we were unable to get married. Slaves, that's why jumping the broom was so important. Do your homework and your history. That was a way to say, because we weren't allowed to get married. So when a couple wanted to get married, they would jump the broom to signify that marriage and to solidify that marriage. So I'm all about changing the narrative here, and I want to show us in a different light. But I thank you so much for watching, Leroy. As always, I thank you for coming on Kendell Lenice Live to share your expertise and your opinions. I
Absolutely.
appreciate you. I
Absolutely,
appreciate
lady.
you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for watching Kendell Lenice Live. I don't know my own name, Kendell Lenice Live. Do me a favor and subscribe below so you can hit the notification button as well, and you can be notified the next time a video like this is uploaded. So I'm humble as always, and I thank you so much for watching, because you didn't have to stay, but you did. So if you want more of these types of conversations, please, again, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, God bless. Peace.